This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
So, this is the first week I think that we're switching schedules, so it's on a Tuesday morning, that the podcast goes up on Tuesday mornings.
Yes.
Yeah. So did it make it easier for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And everybody's been sick, but you're finally feeling better, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's so funny because people say to me, well, your family, you always get sick a lot. Here's the deal.
We have kids in elementary school.
Yes, that is exactly what this is, because we as a family have never been as sick as we have been these last couple years, because those kids go to school. Well, Madison just missed 6 days of school.
Oh my gosh.
And Connor missed 3.
Huh.
So he stayed home all day with me today. So yeah, they go to school, they get sick, they come home, they want cuddles. No matter if you tell them, don't cough, cover your mouth when you cough the other direction.
Don't breathe on me. Yeah.
Right.
Which then, because you told them that, they will.
Well, no. Then they go, okay, Gammy, and then they go, Gammy, I don't feel good, and then they want to cuddle and want lovins, which of course,
Well, maybe they listen to you then.
They do. They listen to me better than they listen to you.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yep. So there's something that I've noticed. There's some changes that I see in you, and I just wanted to ask you about them.
Okay.
Because I don't... Yeah. So these are some... Here it is. That it used to be that when we would ask you to do something or give suggestions about something, your pretty consistent answer would be, that won't work because of something. And you're working with ABA. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Something that you've been working with Eric, who is your ABA guy,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to look at things in a different way, not automatically go to, that won't work. Or what is it that you call them? Your obstacles or...
I don't remember what...
you have a specific thing that you call them. I'm sure that'll pop in your head before we're done.
Yeah.
But it's as these scenarios. You run through all these scenarios before you can take action, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I've noticed is that lately, anyway, I would say for maybe a week or 2 weeks, there's been a shift in you. There's been something that's different. Do you remember all those years that we would ask you to get a schedule, to use a calendar, or put reminders in your phone, or something, make lists?
Right.
I've told you, I need a list every day. I make a list.
Yeah.
And that it's helpful, and it can help to keep you on track. But for some, it's great what I'm seeing, and that is, I'll give two examples. Today's the day that you have scheduled to clean Pappy's space, which means you go in, you change his sheets, you wash them, and you sweep and you dust and vacuum.
Yeah. And
you remembered to do that today. And you didn't have to do it because he's sick. But that doesn't matter, right? That the point that I'm trying to make is you remembered.
Yeah.
And you went into him and asked him about it, and he said, I'd rather not today because I don't feel well.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you did all your laundry today.
Yeah.
And so I said, I should have started this podcast by saying, who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's different?
So it's, I think that, I know that,
You used to say, let me break it down, okay?
okay.
You used to say to me, when I would ask you to do something, you would say, that won't work. And then there would be a because, and you would list something why it won't work.
Yeah. Where I would. You're right.
Mm-hmm. And now, this week, I haven't heard you say that won't work because of whatever it is. Now, we had a pretty intense conversation a couple weeks ago where I said that Eric is the guy that is here to help you with this exact situation. He's not a therapist where you talk and, but he is to help you to take action, whereas it used to be blocks that would be like in front of you, right? You couldn't do something.
Right.
So I'm not saying, oh, this, you're just making stuff up. That's not what I'm saying.
Right. I think part of that block was, in a way, it's an abstract. Because, I mean, think about it. You're making a list for later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what if something comes up? That's not going to be very helpful. That's one part of list things anyway. But
I can give you a specific, and that is that when I'm trying to get you to do your laundry on a regular basis, you would say, that won't work because what if somebody else is doing on a particular day? So have a day, we give you the day. You said that, and this is an actual conversation, that won't work because what if the dishwasher is going? Or what if somebody else is doing laundry?
Right.
Or and what if somebody's, I don't know what else, but there were more to that. There was more to that. What I said to you was, then if you have a day that you want to do laundry and you're going to do all your laundry, then I'll make sure the dishwasher's run the night before. Or we will. You along with me.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make sure of that. Nobody else will do laundry that day.
Right.
And so the that won't work seemed to be a whole bunch of scenarios that you ran through your head that were potentially obstacles.
Obstacles or I had the word just a second there. Possibilities.
Yes.
Yeah. With a negative connotation, but yes.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. But I am seeing an improvement in what you're remembering to do and what you're willing to do. There's absolutely been a shift. And you used to be stuck. And I don't mean, look, I don't know if I'm not explaining this or you're not really aware of what it is that I'm saying,
mm-hmm.
which is shocking to me because this has been a point of contention for 20 years, right? Yeah. We have had this conversation so many times because I'll give you another example.
Okay.
You had got a new TV,
mm-hmm.
and of course it came in a box,
mm-hmm.
and it has the styrofoam in it,
mm-hmm.
and the wrap that comes around the TV and everything to protect it.
Right.
Well, you took the TV out, and that box was here in your space.
Yes.
And it stayed here, and it stayed here, and it stayed here.
Mm-hmm.
And when Eric asked you about that, you said, well, I don't know where to put it. I don't know.
Yeah. It was also that I knew it was there, but it never registered as something that needed to be taken care of.
Yes. There's that. True. and you had a number of scenarios that were were possibilities, but then there was the potential for it not going well.
Right. Or something. Oh my gosh, excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, that I think one of them was that I didn't know that the trash people come every week. Recycle comes every 2 weeks. Off the top of my head, I actually don't recall which one it would go in.
Right.
But beyond that, I would never know if they'd be full or would need to be taken out. I didn't want the box to be just set outside in case it rained, and because that's just a mess to try and take care of. All this stuff, and it's like.
And you had told me you didn't know. Should you put it on the back deck? Should you put it by the trash cans? Should you ask us where you should put it? You didn't know what we wanted. You didn't know. Should it be cut up? Should it be broken apart? Should it be...
Right, all that stuff, yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. And those were issues kind of, and like that, or things that kind of have been part of your life.
Yeah,
it's like a what if scenarios, like
yeah,
what if this happens? What if that happens?
Which is funny because of my if then thought process.
Right. Explain that. Remind me.
In computer coding, if X happens, then Y occurs.
Yeah.
It's
like you have that like as a
mentality kind of thing, almost.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of it is a learned response.
Mm-hmm.
So if such and such happens in such a scenario, then I'm supposed to react or act or whatever in this way. And
right.
And so it's a lot of it was not literally drilled into my head, but
right.
It has been practiced, and so much that it's easier to do, so to speak.
Right. So first of all, what I want to know from you is, I was going to say, I'm not crazy, right? But I know that what you would say, so I won't phrase it that way. But I am not mistaken, right? There has been a change in you, in your ability to do something that you don't particularly care for doing, and you figure out a way to do it, like your laundry.
Right.
And I want to be clear about this. Even though we have had multiple conversations through your life about you doing your laundry, those scenarios that were lurking somewhere that you felt, right?
Right.
Stopped you from doing it.
Right.
And just like that with that cardboard box, yes, there's that thing if you don't see it. You know, that's something that happens a lot, right?
Yeah,
that something's there and it becomes part of the scenery.
Right.
And then you just don't notice it.
Right.
So that happened.
I think I know what you're saying.
Okay.
So.
Whew.
So, whenever occasionally I'll have a not epiphany, but
sure, yeah,
like
right.
Something that will shift my mindset of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strange because while I can see how that changes my focus on how I think about things and how I do things, it's, unless I'm focusing on that occurring, I don't notice it. I know that's an oxymoron or whatever, but
But could you please say that again? I don't care if you use the same words. I don't care if you use different words, but could you just say it again for me? Because I didn't quite follow you.
I had a mental paradigm shift without noticing.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Yeah.
So do you feel different?
It's a mental thing. It's not physical.
Yep. Right.
But so I'm gonna use an analogy, I guess.
Okay.
Of a true story thing.
Okay.
So Helen Keller, whenever she was being taught about sign language,
Mm-hmm.
Helen Keller was blind and deaf,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't have the shortly after being taught a couple of words of things, she still didn't make the connection that what she was spelling out in sign language was a connection to a particular thing.
Okay.
I remember in one of the books I read about it that she had been told to go take a bath or something like that, and had instead gone up to her teacher. That her teacher had signed out, I think it was bath,
Mm-hmm.
and she had responded back, CAKE,
Oh.
because it was something tasty, something nice.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't necessarily make the connection that it was a particular kind of confection.
Mm-hmm.
She just knew that it was something sweet,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what she wanted. She didn't want to do whatever that was. She wanted something nice.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, once she had an aha moment, that epiphany, that mental paradigm shift,
Mm-hmm.
that the comprehension and understanding snapped together.
Right. Right. It just clicked.
Yes, and every word that she had been taught up to that point, she had rushed around, pulling her teacher around, and touching these things, and then signing what they were to her.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because she
Finally made the
understood.
connection.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's kind of what this was, I think. It wasn't as dramatic, like visually at least, or whatever. But it's whenever, because I'm looking into my memories and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I've had other paradigm shifts like this.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I haven't thought of them as such.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, and I go on. But looking back on it, whenever these things occur, my memories of things prior to that are then thought through using the new paradigm. And it...
Right. Right. So it changes you can look back and have a new perspective on something that's happened in the past.
Yes. I still understand and remember the feelings and general thoughts I had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also apply the new thought process
Mm-hmm.
or paradigm, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or filter that through it.
Right.
And so
Has that been happening recently, where something will, a memory will come up and then you will be able to experience it in a new way? Like you can understand a scenario that you previously maybe didn't understand?
So I think for the most part, it is not me actively going through my memories.
So it's not like you flipping through your Rolodex, huh?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's more like an auto update on a computer.
Right.
You don't necessarily see everything that's occurring.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It happens in your sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you joke about that. But that's literally when most people, whenever they go to sleep and have a problem they're trying to figure out,
Yeah.
they usually figure it out by morning.
Right.
Whenever they wake up, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what's happening.
Right.
It's like a background kind of thing that your subconscious is working through.
Well, that's what I believe.
That's what science shows.
Well, because when you're awake, your conscious is not only dealing with all the things that are going on that you experience in real time, but it also is filtered through other things like an ego and parts of us that interfere with an understanding that we can have. So when we go to sleep, the subconscious a lot of times is like, finally, finally you've gotten out of the way. Thank you. You've gotten out of the way, so...
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, so I agree with that.
And so it's not a conscious thing I do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in looking at memories like that where, well, maybe not. Yeah, it's in looking back at my memories that I realize that I've had these paradigm shifts before,
Mm-hmm.
where it's a shift in my perspective and thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really not a noticeable thing at the moment for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And another part of that is that growing up, especially at this point in my life, I'm a lot more introspective and connected to how I feel physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And
explain that, because you've always been in tune with how you feel.
yeah, it's not that it's never been that I've not been.
Mm-hmm.
It's that I'm more aware of what I'm feeling,
Mm-hmm.
like what it means, what it is connected with, and like
No.
like jealousy. As a little kid, I wouldn't have understood that.
Right, sure.
I would have felt a little bit bad right after feeling this strange emotion. Like, why is it that I want this thing? Why is it that I...
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and so as a little kid, I wouldn't have understood that. I wouldn't have even thought to think of it.
Sure.
And so that's one of those examples of a very small paradigm shift,
Mm-hmm.
where you take new knowledge and experience and apply it to your past experience and knowledge. It can shift what you know about that.
Well, I think that's part of... I think that fits in to to maturing, when you're maturing,
Mm-hmm.
like if you have an experience, let's say you're 7 years old,
Mm-hmm.
you have an experience, and that experience is as a 7-year-old. So the mentality is of that age, the experiences of that age, and all that you could take in was of that age. But then as you grow up and you look back on that scenario, you go, oh, well, that was not exactly what I thought that was at that time. Right?
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like that's kind of like what you're experiencing, is that you are
retroactive filter.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever had one of those moments, because this reminds me of this, have you ever had one of those where you thought the words were of a certain song, and then you're singing it wrong your whole life, and then you hear somebody else sing it, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Those are the words?
Yeah.
Or have you heard somebody else then singing it wrong, and you're like, that's not it.
There's a couple songs especially famous for that, but yes.
Yes. There's this one song, I can't remember who sang it, but the words were that I would raise my hands up and surrender.
Yeah.
And forever I thought she said, I'll poke my eyes out and surrender.
Oh my gosh.
I know that for a long time. So I see what you're saying. Whenever we talk about ABA,
Mm-hmm.
I know that you may or may not know this, but there's a controversy about ABA, and because it can be pretty harsh sometimes on little kids. And Connor had ABA,
Mm-hmm.
and there were parts of it that I just really had a hard time with. And you as an adult are receiving ABA for the first time in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And to me it feels like your relationship with Eric is one where he is really helping you. So I'm connecting the dots here, that this is from my perspective, and you can tell me if it's right or wrong.
Okay.
It seems like Eric has a different approach. He's not like any therapist. He's not a psychiatrist. This is what he does. And he's working to help you to do this very thing, which is to get past being shut down, getting past all your
hang-ups.
Yeah, your reasons for not getting something accomplished.
And just doing it.
Yeah.
And one of the issues that I have with just doing something is that I don't have all the knowledge of stuff. I mean, that's not the issue, but that is a huge factor of it. It is that I don't know how something needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
or what the rules are of something, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that it's that I want the mentality of I want something done right, and I want it done right the first time.
Mm-hmm. But there's another part to it, right? And that is that what was stopping you, and we're not talking, and this is, I don't want to sound like I'm harping on this, but this has been your whole life. Up until maybe a week or two ago, right? Your whole life, you would not take action on something because you weren't sure what was the right way to do something or how to do it. And then all of those what ifs
Right.
interfered, because I'll go back to that box that was in here. Like, we just sit it on the porch. What if it rained? What if there was so much going on we didn't want it there yet? That's one thing that you said to me.
Yeah.
With that box. What if you did? What if it was in your way? What if you didn't want it there? What if that's not where I was supposed to put it? What if you wanted me to cut it up and I didn't, and then
it got wet, and yeah.
Yes. And my answer to you was, as we walked all through this, my answer is, I don't care.
If it happens, it happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't care if you sat it there and it got wet. And here's why, Josh. Here's why. Because you taking that box out of your space and putting it somewhere else is you taking action. Right?
Yeah.
And that's been, like, I can't tell you how happy I am for you that this has shifted enough. I mean, you seem lighter. You seem, when it comes to this, you're more comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I
have another today example.
Okay.
So, you know that I did my laundry today.
Mm-hmm.
I went in there to start the first load. I opened up the top of the washer. It was almost full and hadn't been run.
Mm-hmm.
Which means there's just a whole bunch of stuff just sitting in there.
Mm-hmm.
I really dislike that.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes it different is that instead of going to you or anyone else and checking it, and checking with you guys
Mm-hmm.
to see if I could just do laundry or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't the dishwasher going, there wasn't a shower going, there hadn't been, so I took it out,
Mm-hmm.
started my own load.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's awesome.
And that's really, that's different from anything I've done in regards to that.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yes, that's huge.
And so
That's empowering, isn't it?
I guess. It's, I don't know. I think that's one of those things where I like to double check things.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that it's okay, that it's
Mm-hmm.
fine, that it's right, whatever. And so, after the fact, looking back at it, it's like, okay, I did it, so okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, exactly, because it doesn't matter. Right?
But up to that point of being able to look back on it,
Mm-hmm.
it's confusing, I guess. Because why have I had such a hang up on this?
Mm-hmm. Right.
When it's just easy to take care of. It's that
Right.
paradigm shift.
Right, exactly.
And so it might have been the talk we had a couple weeks ago, whatever. I don't know. But, I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny how we've mentioned lists on here and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The night before anything, like before I go to bed and before you guys go to bed, I have typically 2 questions I ask, I think. What's the weather going to be like tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
And is there any plans for tomorrow?
Right.
And I remember, I think you were not in the room or whatever. I think you were just about in bed at that point. But I asked, I told that there were 3 things I wanted to take care of. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the laundry,
Mm-hmm.
Pappy's room,
Mm-hmm.
and podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've done them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in the process of the third one, but
Right,
yes.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is something that hopefully, as we go, we'll be able to put it into words as to, exactly how this came about
Right.
and what helped it along. And
I think another thing to point out about it
mm-hmm.
is that kind of thinking, that mentality or whatever. I made a connection to what happens whenever in the past we've had a big conversation where we're both upset about stuff or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I leave a room and come back.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
It's
This is like one of those things where I've talked before, which is that we can be, in a disagreement, and it can sometimes get pretty intense. You walk out of the room for whatever reason, you come back, you're fine, like nothing's happened.
Yeah.
and I'm stewing, still like what, and you come back and you're fine.
Yeah.
It's like, start over, and you're just perfectly fine.
Yeah, and it's. I made the connection that's very similar to what happens with these paradigm shifts, just in a lot smaller of a situation, I guess. Like it's a situational thing compared to the big thought process kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same kind of effect.
Do you have any idea? So instead of thinking like, well, in the future we'll figure this out, do you have any impression as to what caused this to kind of click, and for you to have this this revelation that, oh, this is how I've been dealing with it, but it's very much okay for me to deal with it this way? Like, what triggered that?
So, I want to be clear about this. It's not a mental thought process like that.
Okay.
Like it's not a, oh, I need to do this and this and this and whatever.
Okay.
No, it's not even a worded
Okay.
process.
Okay.
Which is why it's so difficult for me to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
It's oh man,
Yeah.
whenever you come up with a brand new idea for a joke,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that happens with you? Like, let's say you're out doing grocery shopping.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What happens? Like, a thought pops in your head.
I used to have to write it down on a notepad that I used to take with me everywhere, like a little tiny notebook that would fit in my purse.
Yeah.
Now I pull up my phone, and on my phone it has this app that says Notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just open that up, and I, with my
As quick
thumbs
as you
as
can.
fast as I can before it flies out of my head,
Yeah.
and write as much as I can to remember.
The general concept and
Right, the premise.
Yes.
Yes, because I have to have a full premise, and if I already have it sometimes when I think of a joke, it's already formed. It's done.
Yeah.
And that's why I type as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a premise, and then maybe with a couple words that would trigger what I was thinking about at the time. Yeah.
So, with a joke like that, you get it down as quick as you can so that you can remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens after that then? When you look back onto what you've written, whenever you are able to sit down and think about it?
Do you mean the physical, what I do?
Mix.
Okay. So I'm at my desk usually. I'll look at my phone and I will type it into, I use Word, even though I have an iPad. I use Word. And I type it into Word. I get a new folder, put it in that folder, start a new folder, and just type away. And I look at what I wrote and a couple things that go along with it, and add words, rearrange it. Sometimes it needs more, so I have to give it a title, and then maybe it's not ready that day, and I have to think some more on it.
So you sleep on it.
Yep. If it is all complete, then I go and take that and I look at my what's called a set list,
which is a list of your jokes that you would do
that I do on stage.
Yes.
And in a particular order.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would take that new joke, or what's called a bit. I take that bit and then look to see where it's going to fit the best.
Yeah.
I plug it in, and because I'm very particular about that when I write jokes and what I say on stage, when it's brand new and I've never said it before, I use red ink. And
so you color code it to show what works, what's new, and in the process and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And then I take it from the first time. As soon as I get off stage, or as soon as I have a chance, I will, with a pen, take notes.
Right, because you usually have a print list of things that you take with you of your set.
It's one of my superstitions. I have my set list in a pocket somewhere on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never pull it out to read it, but it's there.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah. And then I record my sets. So I listen back to them and I see what worked and what didn't and why.
Right.
And then I rearrange things and...
Yeah. And a lot of times it's the wording of things don't come across as you meant them.
Yes, a lot of times when I'm writing something and I can see it reads just fine. But to say the words... So let's say something ends with an S and starts with an S. Or it ends with an R, starts with an R. It just kind of is you can, when you're saying it to an audience, it can be lost.
Right.
So I have to rearrange.
Because it blends.
Yes, I have to rearrange then.
Yeah. And so the reason I brought all that up was because whenever you have that flash of an idea, you have this, it's like Christmas morning. You realize it's Christmas morning.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, I love it.
That kind of feeling, and you immediately want to record it to make sure it's remembered.
Yes.
That inspirational concept, that's the wrong words, but that moment of inspiration, that it isn't perfect. You don't necessarily have what you were, it doesn't even have to relate to what you were doing, but you have this new thought that brings even more thoughts from it.
Yes. Yeah.
That you then are considering that and what you know and of everything. You apply what you know to the joke to make it work.
Right. Correct. You can't hear this. I just gave him a look. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I understood that time. Yeah.
I'm also very surprised that I'm actually able to come up with those little blurbs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, my point is though to try and bring it into what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Whenever you have those moments of inspiration, that thought process, you're using what you know to make it the best it can be.
Correct.
And from that point on, you make that connection between that joke and those ideas behind the joke.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Future jokes, whenever you're trying, or not even future jokes, but future versions of those jokes are seen through the filter of that original joke and concept.
Correct.
And newer experiences can also change it to be able to be used in a current time frame.
Yes, and they sometimes become obsolete.
Yes.
Because they no longer represent who I am. And when that happens...
Or other social factors, all that stuff, yeah.
And when that happens, they don't fit anymore.
Right.
So I don't do them.
Right. And so that thought process, that acknowledgement, that knowledge that you've gained and have, are all shown through how you work things through and think things and all that stuff. So if you had a aha moment for one of your jokes, that's how it needs to be to work perfectly.
Right. Yeah. I love it when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my favorite.
That's kind of what happens with this kind of thing. But it's that's how I think of it. That kind of thing. Where it's not a real... It may not seem to be a huge thing. And in all honesty, it probably isn't a huge thing that caused it to occur. But that aha moment, that paradigm shift, it can change everything. And that's, for me, it's in the last week or two or whatever, I can't put it into words what that shift was, what caused it, whatever, what thought process it was. But I can say that it has shifted things.
Right.
And that retroactive filter, so to speak, has made it just that much easier to understand things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to do things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So
it might have been something that's small, and you might not even be able to put your finger on it. But the ramifications, huh?
I said that's tiny.
The ramifications of this, though, are huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And this thing that you are talking about having a shift away from into just this new way, the old way was keeping you from feeling good about yourself on a regular basis. And it was keeping you from being and feeling, I should say feeling, not being, but feeling successful. And so I understand that it's like maybe a small thing that, and maybe it's not really clear exactly what did it.
Right. Just, it might have even been a number of, numerous small things.
Right.
Whatever it was, it's had this effect.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so it's, yeah.
Well, I have some ideas about this, and maybe we can continue talking about this in a different way on the next podcast, because I have some ideas on how this got started and what came together, and we just don't have enough time to talk about, and because right now, but I think maybe if that's okay with you, if we can follow up on this subject on the next podcast, and I'll ask you about my thoughts on what happened and if it did in fact help you to get to this point.
All right.
Yeah. But you feel good about yourself, don't you?
Yeah. Aside from being sick last.
Yeah. You've been sick too.
And for me, it was even a different sickness, I believe.
Yeah.
I know part of it was the deficiency stuff or whatever, but
but you got over that. But this one was more like a.
I
don't know. Yeah. There's just been cooties flying everywhere, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, I think that we'll start off with this next time, and I have some other questions about some things that have been going on with you for the next time, but similar. Yeah, but for the next time.
All right.
Yeah, so this is where we'll start off, all right? All right.
All right.
Okay. So, awesome. I'm so happy for you and proud of you as always, but boy, especially this you just seem happier, more relaxed, more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. That is wonderful. We need to box that up. You know what I mean? And hand it out. I'm not going to store it.
I like how I'm feeling.
Hand it out for others to experience, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Write it down.
Well, that's part of what the podcast is for.
I know. I'm so grateful for you to be able to share this stuff with people. It's wonderful.
Me too.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us again. We always appreciate it. Check us out on the website at sonyaking.com. You can listen to the podcast, see some blogs. We will try to update with some pictures.
Yeah.
And send us a message if you'd like. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And anyway, I hope that you're doing great. You're having a wonderful day. And hope you're safe and happy. And keep warm. The weather's changing tomorrow. From what I understand, most places it's going to drop from this warm weather to really cold. Yeah. So, bundle up.
Unless you're in the opposite hemisphere.
True. Yes, that is true. So, everyone, thank you so much, and we will speak with you next week. Love you.
Bye.